All right, so in this video, we're going to be doing some more division with decimals. Now, I want you to notice that we are dividing by a two-digit divisor. Now, a couple of things to remember, you cannot divide by a number that has a decimal. So we are actually going to be making that into a whole number. So we are going to be multiplying by the power of 10 to remove the decimal in that problem. Now, you also need to know that what you do to your divisor, you have to do to your dividend, okay? So let's go ahead and get started. So for starters, this number is my divisor. So that is the number that's going to go on the outside of my problem. So that's going to be on the outside of my division bar, okay? Then I'm going to take this number, which is our dividend. That number is going to go inside. Okay, so now we're ready to go ahead and get rid of this decimal here. That's the first thing we need to do. So to do that, we need to move the decimal 2 places to the right. So basically we're saying times 10 times 10. So we're making this number 100 times larger. Now if we make this number 100 times larger, we also have to make this number, the dividend, 100 times larger. So we're going to do the same thing. Even though there are 4 decimal places here, we are still only going to move the decimal twice. So we're going to move it 1 times 10, 1 more times 10. So we, again, multiplied that number by 100 also. So let's go ahead and rewrite this without the decimal in the divisor. So we're going to rewrite it as 83 and 752 and 81 hundredths. So it's always a good idea to take this number and rewrite it. It's going to just really help you keep your work neater and follow it much better. So before we get started though, this number, I'm going to use what we call estimation. So it's going to help me do less guessing and checking. So I'm actually going to round this number down to 80. And when I think of this number, I'm going to think of it as 80 to kind of help me figure out how many times 83 would go into a certain number. So I'm actually going to count by 80s or do all my multiples of 80 to help me get the closest possible as I can to the correct numbers without doing so much guessing and checking. So to do that, I'm going to go ahead and come over here and count by 80s, but I'm not really good at 80s. So I'm actually going to count by 8s and then I'll add a 0 to each digit and that will make it 10 times greater. So we're going to go 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, 48, 56, 64, 72, and 80. I don't want to go more than 10 because you can't use 10 up here. You have to use 0 through 9. So let's go ahead and add a 0 to each one of these. That way it'll be counting by 80s. And that will help me get closer to the right number. So we are dividing by 83, but this is going to help me get close to the right numbers. Okay, so watch how I use this. So 83 does not go into 7, so I'm going to say it goes 0 times. 83 does not go into 75, it's too small, so I'm going to say 0 times. Now 83 is going to go into 752, and I'm coming down here, and 752 goes right here. Okay, so this just helps me know about how many times. So we'd say times 1, times 2, times 3, times 4, times 5, times 6, times 7, times 8, times 9. So I think it's going to be 9 because 10 would be too large. We can't use 10 anyway, so let's use 9. So let's try 83 times 9. All right, so we have 3 times 9 is 27, carry the 2. 9 times 8 is 72, plus 2 is going to be 74. And notice I compare the two numbers. 747 is less than 752, so it has to be less, but it also has to be close, and that is very close. So we are going to go ahead and do 9. So we're going to say 747. We'll subtract that from 752. I cannot subtract 2 minus 7, so I'm going to ungroup this 50 and make it a 40. And bring that 10 over here and make that a 12. So we have 12 minus 7 is going to be 5. 4 minus 4 is 0, 7 minus 7 is 0 or nothing. All right, so bring down our 8. Now, 83 does not go into 58, and sometimes this will happen. You'll bring down your next number and it does not work. So we would have to say 83 goes into 58 0 times. So you actually put a 0 up there, then you can bring down your 1 and check, does 83 go into 581, which we know that it does, and it's going to go right here, okay? So I am going to decide, am I going to use 560 or 640? So times 1, times 2, times 3, times 4, times 5, times 6, times 7. So this is going to be times 7. This is going to be times 8. And since 560 is closer to 581, I'm actually going to try the 7. I usually go with whichever one's closer, and if that doesn't work, then I'll use the other one. So let's go ahead and do 83, we have to use 83, not 80, times 7. All right, so let's do 7 times 3 is 21, carry the 2. 7 times 8 is 56, plus 2 is going to be 58. So we did get 8 times, and we have 7 times, so this is a 7, not an 8. So let's fix that. 7 times. Okay? All right, so when we subtract this, we get 0. So yes, 900 or 752 and 81 hundredths divided by 83 is 907.